everybody's getting settled, I want to thank you all for being here this evening. My name is Greg Smith. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the chairman of our board of trustees. I have 3 kids here, grades 8, 9, and 10, and this is our 10th year here at CCA. Well, normally Keith is the one that is the MC for these types of things, but since he is first on our agenda tonight, I thought I would kick us off. And so let's open in prayer, and then we'll get started. Well, Father God, we thank you. We thank you for our school. We thank you for the opportunity we have to educate our kids in a Christian environment, in an environment that is uplifting to you and glorifying to you. And we lift this school and all of our faculty and staff and families to you, and we ask that you go before us and have us be honoring and glorifying to your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for coming. We like to do these family meetings or state of the school meetings once or twice a year. It's a good opportunity for us to update you on some key items going on in the school, and also let you know who's running your school. So it gives you an opportunity to meet board members and some of the key staff. So appreciate you coming. Obviously, we had a big announcement the last couple of weeks. So we thought we want to have this meeting early in the new year, so that we can get out in front of any questions and any things that may come up in that regard. First of all, I would like to introduce our board of trustees. We have a 10-member board, and so as I read your name, if you just stand, and I would like to point them out, because if you have questions after the meeting tonight and you would like to really talk to somebody personally and directly, feel free to seek out one of these people, and they'll be happy to answer any questions you might have or field any comments you might have in that regard. So Jimbo Cross is not here tonight. Let's see, do we have this? Jimbo is our vice chairman. He is traveling this week. He's not here. We have Jared Upton. Jared will be, as we'll get to in a few minutes, is chairing our headmaster search committee. The next person we have is Shannon Caraway. Shannon is a long tenured board member here at CCA. Then we have Michael Stanley. Did Michael walk in? Okay, Michael is not here. He's also been on our board a few years now, and I think he may be traveling. Jeff Williams? Sorry, Jeff Williamson. See, that's what happens when I read things and I don't just, and I don't have my glasses on, so, you know, we had to, sorry about that, Jeff. And then Curry Aldridge, Curry's over here. Michelle Eldridge. Stephanie Barfnick. Stephanie is, I don't know, I think you may be the first board member that actually attended CCA as a student and is now on our board. So we are thankful for her history, and she is also in the education industry. So we're very thankful to have her perspective on CCA as a board member. And then John Dostert. John is not up there. John is right here. That's why I have this list, because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to call it John's name, because it's not up there. So, okay. Well, I just want to encourage you to seek out these individuals if you like. We have an open policy with the board, so open door policy. If you want to speak to any of us about anything, our information is in Red Web, and you're welcome to, and on the website, you're welcome to reach out to us anytime. So one of the primary reasons we're here tonight is we want to talk about the announcement that Keith made recently. And so what I want to do right now is turn it over to Keith and let him tell you about what's going on ahead.
Good evening. So I'm going to start with this central thing that I want to communicate. If you don't hear anything else, I want you to know on behalf of both myself as a professional, as a father, as a husband, and on behalf of my family, the central thing that we want to communicate is gratitude. Gratitude to God, gratitude to this community. It's 20 years and counting, right? We're not leaving, and we love this place. 20, well, I guess, I worked here for 2 years and left for a year and came back, so it's actually 20 and a half years ago in the month of August. I was driving up 26, and not trying to make any of you theologically uncomfortable, but the Lord spoke to me. And it was a very strange conversation. And I'm not one that has lots of those experiences, but the Lord told me to go to my in-laws' house in Grapevine, take out the yellow pages, some of you remember those things, and call parochial schools. And the second school on the list was Covenant Christian Academy. And I remember even as I was opening up the yellow pages, I'm like, Lord, what am I doing? Call and ask for a job. At the time I had 3 jobs, so it was like, starting a set, what's going on? And as circumstances happened, CCA had hired a young lady in the spring who was teaching advanced placement history and English and Latin. And so she was supposed to begin that August, and she'd gone home to her parents, and then I think one of her parents had a major illness, and her plans got changed immediately. She called and said, I know I signed a contract, and you haven't been looking, and I'm not coming. And sorry about that. And so I remember that conversation was quick. The fact that someone just out of the blue who's qualified to teach those courses, which I was, it would be unusual, right? I was interviewed the next day and hired the day after that, and started work 2 days after that. So we lived in McKinney at the time, so the commute was lovely. But I can tell you this, even driving from McKinney each day, it took about 2, maybe 3 weeks for me to know that this is the place. This is a great community. I love this place. And we intertwined here. I have grown and just love the people that I'm around. And so it's just been, this has been a great professional privilege of my life to be part of CCA. 5 years into that, we had some turmoil, and man, was I green. Green. I was asked to become headmaster. And I grew, and the school grew with me. That first day on campus in 1998, we didn't own a stitch of property as a school. None of this campus existed yet. It was going to be later that year that we bought a tiny tract of land that actually where we're currently at was not part of that tract of land. It was just behind us. And so over these last 15 years, we've seen the school create the entire campus and just really grow and develop. And that's been such a great privilege for me, and I know for all of us that God's called to work here. So it just meant there was a lot of thinking when it was time for transition. And so lots of just prayer, deliberation about what my calling is, lots of inputs from many people. I'm so thankful to our board of trustees who they've been a great board to me. Just the discussion and the sounding board, the back and forth, and talking about what's best for CCA, what's best for me and my calling. They've always been concerned about all of those things. And so I'm thankful to them, and that's just an extension of this community. So a few of the things I just always really relished as I have served. I love public speaking. I love meeting with other organizations and helping schools get better. I love that about my time at CCA. But I've had small windows of opportunity to really pour into other schools. I served in pretty extensive roles with ACSI, the Association of Christian Schools International, back when we were part of that organization. I still do a lot of service and help with the Association of Classical Christian Schools. I'm currently on their accreditation standard review committee and been very active there. Done lots of visiting team and helping schools get accredited. And so just have sensed the Lord leading me to a broader purpose. I have a very varied educational background. Started off in aerospace engineering, where I took lots of math and physics, and ended up with an English literature degree, because that's natural. And what's interesting about my formal education is I have seen at CCA the Lord put into use every aspect of my formal education except one. And that is, actually before I was headmaster, the Lord led me to go through a church planting training, formal church planting program, where I was trained as a church planter. I'd never worked as a church planter, and even as I was going through, I remember thinking, Lord, are you going to have me eventually use this for schools? And I do believe that's part of what the Lord is calling me to do. So that's what's behind launching this consulting company and sort of going out there. So just hopefully the Lord can work through me to bless more schools. I am a true believer in Christian education, and specifically classical Christian education. I want to see it flourish and expand, and I believe the Lord is calling me to go and invest in that way. So there's a lot of nervous excitement about that transition, maybe more for my wife than for me, and that's part of it, isn't it? But I'm excited about what's going to happen. And just so that you know the heartbeat of that, when my wife and I were talking through that, someone in my position, the opportunity to go and take other schools are not lacking, right? I could go and do that. That's not what we want to do. And the reason is, we want to be part of CCA. This is a school that our boys know and love, and we want our boys to be here and to graduate from CCA. It's not a perfect place, but we love this place. And we want to grow and develop as this place grows and develops. And so that may mean a little more travel for me and all that kind of stuff, but I receive that as I'm going to try to follow the Lord's calling. And I will make myself available to be of help to the greatest extent possible, but I'm also praying for our next headmaster, because I don't want him or her to feel in any way overshadowed. So I intend to transition into chief cheerleader and encourager and all of that for whoever God calls into that position. So anyway, that's the end of it for me. Greg, did you have some comments? And then we were going to see if y'all had any questions about any of this.
Okay, so have you ever made a comment and God made you eat those words later? I remember when I was nominated to be board chair, I remember saying, I think I said it out loud, I will consider being board chair as long as I don't have to go through a headmaster transition. And God has a sense of humor. Seriously though, first of all, I want to thank, Keith used the word gratitude. Well, that's the board's word too. We are extremely grateful and have an immense amount of gratitude to Keith for what he's done for the school. He's been here 20 years, and he didn't go into there. He barely even scratched the surface of what he's done for the school, growing it to where we are today. We were half the size we are when he took over, and he's doubled the school in enrollment, built the campus, developed a tremendous leadership team here, increased our fundraising dramatically. There's so many things that he's done. And so I want to take a minute right now and have us thank Keith for his service. If you know Keith, he can do just about anything. He's a Renaissance man. I mean, He pulls out the aerospace engineering and the theology so we're going to miss him from a headmaster standpoint. But I also want to thank Keith. We're very grateful. He's going on to do bigger and better things and pursue God's calling for his life. And we as a board and school want to support him in that. So we're doing everything we can to support him and help him in what God's calling him to do. And likewise, he has expressed his support for us as a school and as a board, and is giving us, for example, letting us know this now as opposed to waiting until the end of school or in the summer is extremely helpful. And because it allows us to have a very thoughtful process for transition. So we really appreciate Keith's approach to this transition. It's actually very unusual to have a headmaster in place for 15 years. I think 5 to 10 years is about the most you get in this industry, and so we've been very blessed to have the consistency we have, and it's not unusual to see these transitions come along. So we are also very prepared as a board. So what I will say is the board has already we've had opportunities over the holidays as we've been talking with Keith to plan and prepare the process, and we are in the midst of that process right now. Are in the process of developing our plans on how we're going to go through this transition. So I want to encourage you that we have a tremendous board. I think God knows when things like this are going to happen, and he puts the right people in place to be there for it. Because we're a praying school, a praying board, praying faculty and staff. And, we pray that God prepares us for these types of things. And he has. We've got people on our board that are very organizationally minded, have been through these types of transitions before. For example, Jared Upton, who is going to chair our headmaster search committee, has been through this process before in an educational environment. So we have some experience there that we can lean on. I'm very thankful that we have the people we have to help us through this process. Let's see here. The other thing I'll add is, as I mentioned, Keith has developed a tremendous administrative team here at CCA. Our school heads and the business office, our curricular admin. We have the people in place to carry this school forward. We're fortunate Keith's going to be around because he'll be available for consultation. He'll certainly be here through the end of the school year. But even if, for example, we don't have a headmaster named by the end of the school year, we're in great hands. We've got a great team in place, and we'll be working on transition plans as needed as we go along. So the last thing I just wanted to say is, as a board, we are committed to our mission statement. Keith has always kind of carried the torch for us being a classical school, college prep, and biblically based school. But the board that you have here is fully committed to all three of those things and fully committed to our mission statement. And we want to be, number one, glorifying to God by being biblically based, and say that 3 times fast. Biblically based, Christian oriented, but we also want to be college prep, and we want to continue to be classical. That's who we are. And so that will not change. And I have a feeling that at some point down the road in Keith's consulting career, we're going to be calling on him, to continue to help us with some of these things, and help us maintain our focus on our mission. We do have some other things on the agenda we want to go over tonight, but I want to stop right there because this is such an important topic. And I'm going to open it up for questions now related to the transition, if there are any. And then at the end of the program, we'll open it up for additional questions on some of the other things. So right now, if you have questions for Keith or me or any of the other board members, we're happy to entertain those. And if not, that would be great. Yes. No, Tim, you cannot ask any questions. Next question. Yes, go ahead. Sorry. Good.
Are there search firms out there that deal specifically in the headmaster space?
Yes, there are. Well, there are search firms out there that we've been made aware of that are that do handle school headmaster searches. We've already been in contact or been referred to several of those, frankly. There are also consulting firms out there that will consult with schools like ours in a headmaster search. They don't do the search, but they help you identify a job description, find the right person for you, they kind of walk alongside of you. We've already had conversations with a group like that, but we will be vetting all options as we go through the process. What else? Anything else? Yes?
Will you be part of that process? Are you part of the hiring process of your replacement?
So I think the plan right now is to have me as a consultant. I think my being on the committee can seem to overshadow whoever's coming in next, so I think it's appropriate that I'm on the actual search committee. But I will answer any questions that they have. The other thing for me, given the nature of the networking that I'm already conducting on that for the transition this summer, is that it puts me in a position to know about good candidates that might be aligned. So I'm able to forward those on to the search committee so that their pool of candidates is augmented. And it may put me in a position to give better answers for just what kind of fit those particular candidates might be for CCA as a school. I don't think we'll have shortages of candidates. We're a really healthy, attractive school. I think we'll have both internal and external candidates of excellence, and so the real prayers need to be for the search committee to process through all of that.
And Keith has already been helping us, just organizing the process and knowing who to talk to, and advising us on consultants that are available. So we plan to lean on him as much as we can. Yes?
Given the season that the school is in compared to where it was when he was hired, is the board able to share kind of what your priority is, what you're trying to accomplish with this hire for the next 10 years?
That is a great question. And honestly, that's the first topic of discussion for the search committee. And honestly, we just haven't come up with the answer yet. I think you're exactly on target, though, in that we do realize we need to take a step back and realize and figure out what is it we're looking for. What does the school need right now? We've been able to benefit from Keith's broad skill set and his longevity here in history, but we're not going to be that lucky. We may not be that lucky in the next hire, so we're going to be working on that. That'll be the first thing on the agenda as we develop this group to do the search. So, yes.
Who is the search committee? Is that already been formed? Is that exclusively the board with directors for leadership, or how?
Thank you. I was going to give a little bit on that and I forgot, so thank you for that question. Currently, we have formed a subset of the board that is the nucleus of the search committee. That group is going to identify a broader advisory committee that will all work in concert to do the search. And so at this point in the meetings that we've had, the discussions we've had so far, we're not sure how many we'll add, but it'll be not too big, but it'll be a nice group of both internal people, staff members, family members, and external groups like maybe former board members. We haven't identified who it is yet, but it'll be a broader group, and then that group will determine what we're looking for, what the process will be, like which search firm we're going to hire or consultant, and then work alongside that search firm and consultant to vet candidates. So, and that process has already been started. We had emails flying around among that committee today, so we're on top of it, or at least Jared is. What else? Anything else? Well, I encourage you to tap into these guys and the board members. And if we're going along and you haven't gotten an update from us and you want to know what's going on, pick up the phone or shoot us an email. We are going to do our best to update the community on our progress to the extent that we can, and to the extent that we have something to keep you informed about. But I promise you, if you send an email or or make a phone call, we'll tell you where we're at and give you whatever updates that we can. So, okay. So we thought this would be a good time to update everyone on our current construction project. If you've been here very, very long, you know we always have a construction project going on. I don't think that'll ever end. You know, we've already started. We're already starting the planning stages for the next project, and so. But the current one is the redevelopment of our football field, which is substantially complete, should be complete, and the construction of our baseball field. So I'm going to invite John Doster, is the board liaison to our construction committee, and he's going to provide you guys an update on where we are with the fields.
Good evening. As Greg said, we kind of had two phases of our athletic fields: a football field, football, soccer field, and baseball field. So the football, soccer field, we got some pictures there, is basically complete, and we were able to have 2 home games there this fall, which was great if y'all were there. And the process of that principally consisted that we had all new bleachers. We re-leveled the field, added the grass. There was walks that were done, some drainage, and fencing that around there that completed that. So that's been complete. Now, towards the end of that process and into December, an opportunity became available through the process of building the football field, that we could, an opportunity for artificial turf for that field at a substantial discount to what it normally would have been. Apparently, there was a college that ordered a field that they couldn't use or decided not to use, so it became available for this big discount. So we had a group of families or donors in the school that were able to commit to fund that artificial turf, which is a big blessing to our school. And so that process will actually begin in March. They will begin installing artificial turf for our field, our soccer football field, and it will probably take about 2 months to do that installation. So we'll have a brand new football field as well as artificial turf here towards the beginning of summer. And it's a high quality field. It'll have all the Cougar logo and so forth in the center and in the end zones and stuff. So that'll be a real addition to the process we already started. And it's something we kind of didn't know about, and it just kind of fell in our lap. So that's pretty cool. And then kind of for the last part of the football and soccer fields, we are just beginning the process of lights for that field and what that will look like. It'd obviously be great to have a lighted field as well, because that opens us up for more opportunities for scheduling games, not just football, but soccer too. So we're beginning the process of designing the lights and getting them engineered and seeing what that'll be, and from there we can determine what the cost will be. Now we will have to raise money for those lights. They were not in the current Bring It Home campaign for our fields. So that process has begun. The second part of the athletic fields was the baseball field. And as you can see, there's a lot of dirt being moved around over there. It's a little behind schedule because of the rain. From September to the beginning of December, there was something close to 40 days of rain. And as you guys all know, there was not just rain days, but there was a lot of rain. And when all the work is outside, the rain kind of stops all that work, right? So it's been a little behind schedule. It's back on track, and as you can see, they are doing work now. The current estimated completion date for the baseball field is the beginning of June. So we were originally hoping that we could play baseball there this spring season, but unfortunately that won't happen. But it will be ready for the next baseball season. And also, what will be good is as it's done at the beginning of June, beginning of the summer, the baseball portion of the work contains the restroom and concessions, as well as the weight room. So those will be ready as we begin school next fall, and as we have games, football games here at home, we'll have that restroom and concession building ready. It'll be available for use. So that'll be a big plus. even though the baseball field won't get its full use until that next spring season. So that is our athletic field update.
Like I said, we'll field questions, if there are any questions about the fields, in a few minutes. And so now we're going to have Steve Turner come up. Steve Turner is our Director of Development, and he is going to give us an update on the fundraising campaign connected with this project.
Welcome, everyone. I'd like to start off by publicly thanking Keith as well for all his years of service here at CCA. I have never known CCA without Keith Castello. The first day I walked in, I met him, and have been here for 16 years now. So I'm thankful for all your service, Keith. Thank you for all. In fact, I was Keith's boss for a short period of time, and he became my boss. So it's kind of unusual, but we've had a great working relationship the whole time, and I value your friendship, and I'm excited that you and Alicia and the boys are going to continue to stay here and be here at CCA. So God's blessings on you in your future endeavors. We kicked off our Bring It Home campaign about a year ago, right here in this room, and many of you were there. And we are excited. It's a $5.5 million campaign. That's our total goal. And we are currently at $3 million in gifts and commitments. And we're so grateful and thankful for everyone who has supported the campaign. Many of you in here have done so. That $3 million was very big for us, very important, because it opened up, it gave us access to a construction line of credit, which we talked about when we kicked off the campaign. What that does is that gives us access to the entire $5.5 million, so we can go ahead and build the entire project now rather than having to wait years down the road to collect the $5.5 million in total. So that was a huge opportunity for us. We're very thankful for that opportunity. However, obviously we still have about $2.5 million left to raise over the next couple of years. So we're going to be continuing to do so and raising that $2.5 million. The good news is this: 40% of our current CCA families have given to or supported the Bring It Home campaign. Now we have 50% of our returning families, but when you add in new families, it drops that percentage down to 40%. Why is that good news? Because there's 60% of our community that still have the opportunity to give a first-time commitment. That excites me. So there's plenty of opportunity out there, right? The glass is more than half full. So we're excited about that, and just pray that you would pray, see if God is leading you to contribute to the campaign and make a commitment. We'd love for you to join us and support it. And it's very helpful to have a high percentage of our families participate in the campaigns when we're going to foundations, asking for grant monies. So consider that as well. Another great opportunity we have is grandparents. So we have not done a super job in the past of tapping into our grandparents for support for our campaigns. We do have over a dozen grandparents that have supported the campaign so far, but we would encourage you to talk to your parents. I know there's plenty of CCA grandparents out there that would love to give to our Lord's work here, right, by giving to their grandkids' school. So I encourage you to do that. If you or your grandparents are interested, my contact information is steve.turner@covenantchristian.net. So we're going to be hitting it hard with that 6% that has not made a first-time commitment yet. We'll start talking to our new families. We don't like, as new families come in, to hit them up right away and say, hey, welcome to CCA. Would you like to give to the capital campaign? So that we do have 76 new families this year that we've not talked to so far about the campaign. So we're excited. There's a lot of opportunity out there. I encourage you to spread the word and continue to pray for us to continue to raise that $2.5 million over the next couple of years. We'll also be seeking, as I said, grant monies from corporations and foundations over the next couple of years. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. We thank God for his provision so far, and we're excited to see what he's going to do going forward. So thanks for your time, and that's all I have.
Giving to this capital campaign will also help the next phase. You know, we're in desperate need of more classrooms and fine arts spaces and just meeting spaces in general, and we have plans for all of those. Contributions to this campaign keep our debt down and allows us to kick off the next project quicker. So just keep that in mind. If you really want more classroom space or cafeteria for Nisi. Well, contributions to this actually help us get that one started quicker, so just keep that in mind. We're going, like I said, we're going to do more questions at the end. Keith has one more thing for us to share, and then we'll open it up for questions.
All right, on a financial front, we have really good news as a school. So we have long been committed to a balanced budget that has maintained over the years. We actually, it's now been a couple of years ago that we zeroed out our revenue rotation. Sometimes some schools spend some of next year's money on the current operating year, and sometimes that can get really backwards. We don't spend any of next year's money on the current operating year. So that revenue rotation is completely rotated, and we have a balanced budget. So we're not, there are lots of schools that are so dependent upon donations to even pay the bills. We're not in that spot, and so we're very blessed and very healthy from a financial standpoint. In fact, the health of the school is one of the major contributing factors to it being a good time for a transition with the head of school. So I get to announce new tuition rates. And in the past year, we've had much more substantial tuition rates over the past few years, and there were a number of things that went into that. Number one, we needed the money to be able to compensate staff better, take care of the needs of the school, and to be candid, we do comparative tuition every year looking at the other schools in our area, and we had been fairly significantly below the average of parity with the other schools. Sometimes that's a difficult calculus because no school structures their finances the same. Some get it all from tuition, others have fee structures, and so there's a whole process that we go through every year to try to have as close to an apples-to-apples comparison on tuition rates as possible. We've had several years of larger increases, and this last year we actually got to about parity with our competition in the area. We also started growing again, and that growth has brought tremendous new vitality to the finances of the school. And so basically all that enabled us to give a much more modest tuition increase this year. So tuition rates are going up 1/2 of 1%, which is significantly less than in the previous 5 years. So, and even within that, we have the monies there to bless our faculty and staff. There are monies in that balanced budget to take care of salary increases and address benefits. So those things are improving, and yet we have just a 0.5% increase in the tuition. Now, given our trends and given that low increase in tuition rates, I want to give you fair warning and preparation. I have every expectation that more than half of our grades will be full this next year. I can tell you the Castello family will be getting our re-enrollment contracts in very quickly when those go out. And I want to give that to you as a point of encouragement, both what's happening in the larger Christian school community in our area. We are expecting a significant surge of enrollment this year, and I do think our empty seats are going to go very fast. And so that bodes well also for, not that this budget was based on lots of growth, it was not, but we are expecting significant growth, and we are expecting to fill up our vacancies very quickly. So I just want to give you that encouragement to be on the spot when the re-enrollment contracts get out. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to next year, and I believe the Lord is going to bless us immensely. So.
Yeah, don't hold us to that slide. It should be 0.5%.
Oh yeah, 1/2 of 1%.
Yeah. So anyway, I can see somebody bringing a picture of that into the business office. You said 0.05%. It's 1/2%, which is, traditionally we've been 3 to 6, 7%. So we're We're thankful to Keith in his budgeting process and the efficiencies that have been created in the school. As a board, we try to be good stewards and be very efficient with tuition dollars. Keith has done an exceptional job of helping us do that. And with the growth in enrollment, we've been able to keep that increase to a minimum this year. So now I want to take the opportunity to open it up to any questions. And if there are questions that have nothing to do with what we've talked about tonight so far, this is your opportunity to ask that question. So we'll open it up. If you have a question for me or the board or anyone down here. Yes.
Under the athletics umbrella, the court, is that getting replaced for sure in June?
That is in the budget, yes, to replace the basketball, volleyball court, yes.
In Redeemer.
In Redeemer Hall, this one's in great shape.
Redeemer gym.
The Redeemer, thank you, Steve, the Redeemer floor will be replaced the first of summer.
Yes.
When do they get the playground back?
When do we get the playground back?
Yes, when do they get to start using the playground again?
That's,
Well,
Please.
again, that's part of this delay. So if they're expecting the baseball field to be done in June, it's expected to be in concert with that.
Okay.
They have changed some of the order of that. So I think the reality is you're not going to have it for this school year.
Right.
It's just,
But next school
there may
year.
be some chance they get ahead, but I would not encourage anyone to hold their breath on that.
Right.
But next year it'll be there when the first day of school gets here, and we're keeping the Pine Tree Playground, so we'll have both the Cougar Playground and the Pine Tree
Okay.
Playground as we
Okay.
go into next school year.
Okay.
okay, what else?
Considering the growth, what's going to be the capital student-teacher ratio?
So in the lower school, we're not changing those. We just have had empty seats. So you got 3 sections of 18, which is 54 students up through 4th grade, and then in 5th grade, 54 is the soft cap, and we could go to 57. So we can go to 3 sections of 19 in the older grades.
Okay, what else? Any other questions? Parking. What
Yes.
about parking?
We would like some, thank you.
We talked about the land next door that never going to go or whatever.
We agree. So on the big events where we don't have the parking we need, we're going to have to shuttle for the time being. There certainly is hope that eventually we would acquire additional land and create more parking spaces, but for big games and big events, parking down at Terra Village and shuttling people over is really what we're going to be planning on.
And be praying about that.
Yes.
You know, with the land next door that's vacant, you know, there's been plans on and off for that. We've had an opportunity to go over there and buy that land, but we got to a point where we had to decide when we were going to stop buying land and start building buildings. And so in recent years, we've made the decision to spend money on building our facilities because vacant land just doesn't do us any good. So we're trying to use up the land we have. Ideally, the Lord will provide some of that for parking or whatever. So if you would say put parking on your prayer list.
It's also important to note that the land over there, even when it has been for sale, has not been at market rates.
No.
It's been substantially above market rates and made that very untenable. Yes.
What else?
If we're getting to the point where we're sold out, what's our thought process about continuing to grow and maybe serve more people that run some of these Christian schools?
Okay. Well, I do think that's part of what my calling is. I do not believe we have enough classical Christian schools. I'm already talking with one tiny little classical Christian school on the periphery of DFW, One of the things I'm going to be looking at is planting a number of schools on not here in our area. That's one of the things I'm looking at, is creating a system of schools. I do not think that, in the way things are going in our culture, we expect demand for private Christian education to do nothing but increase. But there's also major issues that have to be solved when it comes to finances. We are in a blessed demographic area, and most of our families that are part of CCA are blessed financially, and that opens up possibilities that don't exist for other people. It's one of the things I pray deeply about. I really want classical Christian education to be available to Christian families regardless of where they live or what income they make, and those are huge issues. But the board has talked in the past about being connected to the planting effort of other schools, and I can tell you that would be a wonderful problem to have, that we're full. It also, we've talked with other schools. I've had many conversations with schools that did get full and had to turn people away, and even the sort of real challenges, particularly in the admissions office, how difficult that is for people who love the school and they go from a mode of selling it to saying no all the time. We don't have a spot for your child, we don't have a spot for your child. So it's a great question, significant concern, and hopefully the Lord's going to lead me in that to have some solutions down the road.
And just a follow-up, I think one thing I've heard about before is just kind of trying to keep the school a certain size. Is that where our heads are, or would we, if everything worked out, the worst thing you know, we'd be in a place where we'd start thinking about, another class per grade or something?
Sure. Right now, we do have a cap. It's roughly 750, I think, now, based on our 3 sections of 18 or 19. Honestly, part of that is driven by the size of our campus. We have facilities restrictions, and we're feeling that right now. The teachers will, and our faculty will tell you they're feeling it. And so that's part of the issue that we have for keeping it a certain size. Also, being a classical school, and we have a particular mission. It's a little bit narrower than your typical Christian school. We're a little more academically rigorous. We're college prep, and we're classical, and we're Christian. So we feel like the size that we've set for the school is right for our school, this community, or campus size, things of that nature. Although I will say this, we have had on our strategic agenda, along the lines of what Keith has talked about, discussing a future school plan. Having a sister school in a nearby community that, maybe just far enough to where it would be difficult to travel here, and so that has been on our minds, or at least on some of the board members' minds that have put that on our strategic agenda to think about, and how can we take what we have here and grow it. And it sounds like that may be an area that the Lord is leading Keith in, but very good question.
One other point on that too is the size of the school has such a tremendous impact on educational opportunity, right? We all have kids that have their particular bents and interests. The larger the school, the harder it is to get a spot on the varsity team, right? Get a lead in the musical. So there have been lots of thought in the past here at the school. What's the optimal size for a school? Large enough to have all the programs that really make a full world education, but small enough that it really maximizes educational opportunity for students. And there's always tension on that. And I think that's one of the things that people have loved about CCA is that our kids really get to participate in substantive ways in the things that they care about.
Good questions. What else? Now's your opportunity. Yes.
So, other than expansion, is there a solution to the classrooms that are at the church that we're happy to go to?
Yes and no. Well, right now, no. We're utilizing every classroom space that we need, both here and the church. That changes from year to year, and right now we're very blessed to have a great relationship with the church. Long term, Our goal is to have all the classroom space we need on our campus, which, interestingly, and hopefully will coincide with the growth of CPC. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because there was one other introduction I wanted to make tonight. Our school, if you may not know, was born out of Colleyville Presbyterian Church. Dale and Ann Smith had a passion. Dale Smith was the senior pastor of that church for many years, and they had a passion for Christian education. And back in the late 70s, there was a movement to foster Christian education in our country. And Dale and Ann started this school, very tiny, out of the church. And so this school grew out of Colleyville Presbyterian. And a few years ago, we split off, so we are legally separate from the church and denominationally separate. We are independent, we are a non-denominational private Christian school. But at the same time, we owe a debt of gratitude to CPC. We have a great relationship with them. And I did want to introduce, we have their senior pastor here tonight, Josh Anderson, is sitting over here. So Dale retired 4 or 5 years ago, and the church brought in Josh, and Josh has just been a tremendous supporter of our school. His kids are here at this school, and we have a great relationship with CPC. So we're blessed to have their facilities. I hope it's a blessing both ways. We rent space from them, so hopefully, but as they've been growing as a church, and we've been building out our campus, and our prayer is that as they grow and need their space, we will grow and not need their space. So, but good question. And it's, right now, space is a challenge, and it's probably one of the biggest challenges we have, just figuring out where everybody's going to go. So I would also ask you to put that on your prayer list. Okay, what else? Yeah.
You mentioned that as the athletic facility project wraps up, there's already plans for other projects. Can you enlighten us as to what the future plans are in light of the space?
Sure. One of the plans we have is to expand the Nisi building. So, as you go here, the Logic School building, there's space behind that building, a vacant lot. So that will add more classrooms, an event space. We have fine arts events, a cafeteria for that school, for example. That's one of the next major projects we want to do. There's also projects to expand Redeemer and add additional classroom space there. Let me know if I misspeak, but or you. And so those are two of the primary. It's really adding classroom space and meeting space and fine arts space. That's really where the need is. And so we have plans for those. We've spent a lot of time working on those in the past. And we spent a lot of time building classroom space, and then we decided we needed to finish up the athletic facilities, but then we'll be going back to the classroom and fine arts spaces next. So.
And there is a tiny bit of parking that's in that process, by the way.
Yes.
Eventually Westminster will go away, and it's going to be replaced with either 2 or 3-story buildings. And so the smaller footprint will allow for additional parking spaces. You got where the grass is behind Nisi that will all be built out. And so there have been a number of different iterations of those plans.
Anything else?
You mentioned the field is done, but the lights were not included. So what is the plan for lights? Because without lights, the sun's not closed.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Soccer's generally played at night during the week. When we originally planned the football, originally we were just going to build a baseball field on the next project. And the reason is we didn't have a baseball field, and it's much harder to rent a baseball field than it is a football field. You can go get a football field tomorrow. Baseball, there was one year we were driving to Plano to have our home baseball games. So we felt like baseball was critical for the long-term health of our school and those families that wanted baseball. But as we begin the development on that plan and figuring out the budget for that, there was a suggestion that we renovate the football along the way as an add-on project. And so that's what we did. Well, in our budget, we just didn't have the plans or the budget to do the lights on the football. So, but there will be lights on the baseball, by the way. That's already in the plans and the budget. So currently we have, our construction committee is working on the plans for the lights and looking at all the lighting, frankly, all the lighting for the athletic fields and trying to come up with the quickest solution for getting those lights on the football field. So that process is ongoing right now. We have engineers working on it. We have bids actually in hand. It's just a question of timing. The other issue with the lights was the city would not approve the lights unless they met a very specific technical requirement, which really we didn't think we met until our construction committee and engineers were smart enough to put that in when we went to get approval, and they approved it, and we were kind of surprised they approved it. But we have city approval, but it's a very narrow spec. So we didn't think when we were developing the budget we would be able to have lights anywhere, and that became available to us on the football field as the technical, as the product got better and the technical requirements could be met. So anyway, that's a long way of saying it's in process. I'd love to say we're going to have lights on football by next fall, but I can't promise that. It's unlikely that it'll be next fall, but we're working on that as fast as we can. And as John mentioned, part of that is even if we get all the technical requirements, get it through city approval, which still has to happen, get all the engineering done, we still have to raise the money. And
So it's not part of 5.5?
it is not part of 5.5. It is not part of 5.5. But good question. I know it's on everybody's mind. And our construction team is working seems like every other day I get an email on the lights, so that they're working on it and updates, so.
Any chance of going back to Pennington next year, or is that ship sailed?
We can always go back to Pennington. And frankly, it's a pretty cost-effective option for us if we need to. Obviously, we'd love to have our football games on campus as much as we can. It creates it's a great community activity to have on our campus. A lot of things can be connected to that. But Pennington is available, as is Fort Worth Christian. These camp fields we've used. And now, I'll say this, having the turf, having this opportunity, which frankly was a gift from the Lord, because we're getting a huge discount on field turf, and we had some anonymous donors willing to underwrite that project. So having that will help us from a rain perspective. But if we feel like we need to go to a Friday night or have the lights, those options are available to us. What else? Anything? Okay. All right, I guess that's it. Keith, are you going to close us out?
Let's pray. Lord God, you are so good to us, and we praise you. Father, we thank you for the reconciliation that we have in our Lord and Savior, the work that he's done for us, not only for this present life, but for all of eternity. And Father, we thank you for the points of recollection and just substance and significance that you weave into our lives in the here and now that will echo into that eternity. Father, we thank you for how that's working out on this campus. We seek your blessing upon CCA, that in all things you would be exalted above all here in this place. Lord, would you set our plans aright for your name's own sake? And would you bless us as we leave here? We give you all the honor